Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. I want to thank everybody, first of all, for all the support and helping us raise awareness today for sudden cardiac arrests. We are doing our part. Today, I have a few guests on with me. I have two moms that I have met over the course of the last year who are both just a little bit further along on this journey than me. I have Jennifer, who lost her dear son, Kyle, and Teresa, who lost her son, Zach. And they're going to share a little bit about their sons, about their stories, and about their foundations. They have wonderful foundations as well. The Kyle J. Taylor Foundation and the Zach Mago Foundation, and I am Rakaya Gibson from the Damani Gibson Foundation. We each are doing our part to raise awareness so that other families do not have to experience the tremendous pain and loss that we've learned to carry with us. It does not go away. We just learn to live with it. And it's really difficult. I want to say that first. It's difficult for us to share our stories and to talk about what we've experienced. So we don't do this because we want to. We're speaking up because we have to do our part to save anybody. If we can save one life from this conversation today, then it will be well worth the pain that we have to carry with us. Because every time we talk about it, we dig up those emotions, but it's necessary because if someone had spoken up and told us that this could have happened to us, we would be forever indebted to them. And we would have taken the steps and possibly saved our children. So we are here to share those steps with you. So that you don't have to experience what we're experiencing. So I want to introduce first Jennifer, who's going to share about her lovely son, Kyle. She's in California. Teresa's in Indiana. I'm here in Houston, Texas. So we're representing the nation. And at the end, we will absolutely share with you. We have a group of about 100 parents who are all fighting across the nation. So if you have questions, comments, please go ahead and type them in. And if you're looking for screenings in your area, definitely you see our foundation names on the screen. But if you live in a state or in an area that we do not represent, please send your comments still because we have networks all across the country. Okay. So Jennifer, if you can share a little bit about Kyle.
Sure. So Kyle was 18 in February of 2018, was a college freshman at the time and was healthy, active, worked out a lot, played sports. And on February 22nd, he was just hanging out with some friends, playing some video games, and got up to go to the restroom. And he didn't come back, and his friends were looking for him, and they found him collapsed in the bathroom. He had no, before that day, he actually went to his college classes. So he was completely fine and healthy, or what we thought. His cardiac arrest happened exactly 1 month before his 19th birthday on February 22nd, 2018. And then about 2 days later, we were told that Kyle would not survive. And before that, I'd never heard of somebody so young and supposedly healthy passing from sudden cardiac arrest. I'd never heard that before. And so that's kind of what motivated us to start our foundation and to honor Kyle. And what we do is we just bring awareness, like what we're doing here, or, talking to people about cardiac arrest. We also provide free heart screenings. And so we're in Northern California, we're in the San Francisco Bay Area. And we also donate AEDs and do CPR training and AED training. We are just over 2 years that Kyle passed in February.
Wow. And was Kyle still an athlete at that time?
He wasn't. So his sport pretty much was soccer. I mean, he grew up playing sports his entire life, but his main sport was soccer. He wasn't playing at the time, but he was active. He worked out at the gym a lot. He, would go on hikes. It was a surfer. He liked to surf and was a snowboarder too. So he was playing those kinds of sports, but yeah, he was very active still at the time.
And could you have ever imagined, was this on your radar for something that you were worried about?
No, not at all. I mean, a few years before it happened, Kyle had a fainting episode and he went to the emergency room, and we were just told he was dehydrated. They couldn't find anything. We followed up with his pediatrician. They didn't suggest any kind of heart issue. And so we just thought he was dehydrated, and he was back on a soccer field within a couple of days. And it wasn't until we were in the ICU at the hospital after his cardiac arrest that we heard that there was a connection to those. And so for all those like 3 or 4 years before he had his cardiac arrest, it was not even a thought on my mind. He went to his physicals every year. He had a physical 4 months before he passed away and got a clean bill of health. So I thought I was doing all the right things. I thought I was doing everything that I needed to do to protect him. And I obviously wasn't, because a heart screening could have possibly had saved him.
And had he ever had a heart screening before?
No. Just when he fainted, they did an EKG and they didn't see anything on the EKG at the time. So, I mean, I don't know for sure if a screening would have helped, but at least I would have known for sure that he had been screened,
Right.
But
right.
other than that, no, not like a heart screening. No. Yeah.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
If you guys want to see Jennifer's full story or more of her story, it's never, I think, full,
Yeah.
But she did share her story, and there's a video on our YouTube page where you can view her story and leave comments and feedback to Jennifer there. Teresa, her baby was 17, just like mine. And I don't know what it is with that 17 number. I find so many of the women in our group, their babies were 17. But Teresa's going to share a little bit about Zach and his beautiful smile. All of our kids are so beautiful. I mean, they're our
Very
kids.
handsome.
I say they were beautiful.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Teresa?
So Zach started off July 5th, 2018 with breakfast at his Mima's house. And then he took my mom shopping and came home and told his sister Jillian that he was going to take a nap. Kind of said he didn't feel good, and he did this up and down. And just, it was not unusual for Zachary to take a nap. He took naps almost every day, and he had all of his life. Zach played hard, trained hard, studied hard, gave everything 110%. And so it was during his nap that he went into sudden cardiac arrest, and we found him about 18 minutes too late. And Zach was exactly 1 week from his 18th birthday. He would have been a senior in high school. He was an honor student. He was part of the class board, National Honor Society, and he was the star of the basketball team. And we had a heart screening, a full heart workup in 2014, and had absolutely no idea that it should have been repeated 2 years later, or the fact that his blood pressure was a little bit too high. They kept clearing him for sports physicals, and he had one every year, and he saw the doctor, and he'd had a surgery in March to fix a torn ligament in his ankle, and everything seemed fine. And just July 5th, laid down to take a nap, and he didn't wake up. He didn't say, he just told his sister, he just went like this, as he wasn't real hungry either. And he was gone. And they determined that he passed from cardiomegaly, which is an enlarged heart. That's not very descriptive. Doesn't give us a lot of information. To honor his life and legacy, we provide heart screenings for teens and donate AEDs and show people how to do CPR. And I have to say, an AED was not on my radar because they didn't use one on Zach. He was gone. But we did our first fundraiser last July, and it was a dinner and silent auction. And at the fundraiser, one of those in attendance collapsed. And literally, it happened right as one of our foundation board members was saying that AEDs are not in enough locations. And in fact, the community center that we held the event at did not have one. And then a gentleman collapsed, and nothing could have brought the point of AEDs need to be everywhere, more home than that happening to that gentleman. And it turned out that luckily we had a lot of nurses and a nurse practitioner and people in attendance that helped the gentleman, and he's okay. The sad
Wow.
part is the North Liberty Community Center cited insurance reasons and denied our donation of an AED for that facility.
Wow.
So
That's something that's really unfortunate. Sometimes people feel like, they get afraid to give CPR or to use an AED, thinking that they're going to be held liable. But the Good Samaritan law protects individuals. I mean, I don't know that facility's reasoning, but people should not be afraid of AEDs.
right, and the facility is ultimately protected. So that was just a sad situation. So we put it at another facility where, they allow people to host events, and so it was, hopefully it'll never need to be used, but it's there in case it does.
Right. Jennifer, did AED get used on Kyle?
I'm not 100% sure. I think they did so his friends called, his friend started CPR, but he had been unconscious for too long. And I think that they did an AED when the EMT came. I'm not 100% sure. My brain was so fogged up and not remembering what was going on when we got there, but I think that they did. But he had already been down for, I think they estimated about 15, 20 minutes without any CPR or anything like that. So,
wow.
Yeah.
CPR was immediately started on Zach, but I didn't know that he was gone. My daughter had looked at the bed and realized that he was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And it's so, I don't want to say ironic, but he was an athlete, and I think you said he was the star basketball player. You've posted a lot of videos, and he was very fit. He was very talented. And for him to go to practice every day and be fine, no symptoms, no warnings, that's not what we expect. We always hear that it happens during physical activity. As a coach, I always thought, okay, if something happens with coaches, okay, CPR will get started and kids will be fine. I never realized something like this could happen at home. And I don't think a lot of parents out there know that it can happen at home. The problem is a lot of people hear about this when it is an athlete that collapses, right? They collapse at a game or at practice, and then everybody hears about it. And it seems rare because only a few of them happen that way and are shared. But all of us who are sharing our stories, if we weren't sharing our stories, a lot of people would not know that it was sudden cardiac arrest because it didn't get put in the newspaper because it didn't happen at a game or at practice.
Right.
Yeah. We, you're talking about rare. So the high school that both my kids went to, there's our rival high school is less than about 2 miles from where we are. So it's pretty much in the same community. And we have, the kids grow up, they play in the same little league fields, but they maybe go to one of the two high schools. And so they're pretty well known, and they've had a long-term friendly rivalry for many years. And that high school, Branham High School, has had 3 pass away from sudden cardiac arrest. And I think all 3 of those were not during sports. They all were basketball players when they were at the high school. They passed away after they graduated. But then our high school has also had 3, including Kyle. So when people say it's rare, we have had 6 youth from our 2 high schools pass away from sudden cardiac arrest. So it's not rare, right? It's just because, like you said, Rukai, we're not hearing about it doesn't mean it's not happening. But I believe most of all of those, I know Kyle's story, and I know some of the details of the other ones. I don't believe any of those were during any kind of physical activity. They were either at home. I know one of the young ladies was away at college when it happened, was in her room. So that's a big myth for sure, that people just assume that, it can only happen when they're doing physical activity, and that's just not the case. But we have 6 in our community that we have lost.
So in our high school, which we have less than, I'm going to say less than 650 students in high school. We have had 3 kids pass away from sudden cardiac arrest. One was on the football field, and then another child, just like Zach, while he was sleeping. And these parents had no warning signs either.
Yeah.
And I live in a community that is less than 15 miles from where there was another cardiac arrest. Jake, the Play for Jake Foundation, Laporte, and then it's happened within a 15-mile radius of where we're at. I can think of several.
Yeah.
Wow. And you brought up a good thing too, Teresa, or an important point when you said that an adult collapsed at your fundraising event, because that's the other important thing about kids knowing CPR, because the coaches know CPR. But I was speaking at a clinic in January, and a coach came up to me and told me about a coach that died, at practice, and the kids had tried to give CPR, tried to respond, but the coach is the one that actually died. So we want to make sure that the kids know what to do and that they know how to respond in a high pressure situation, because knowing what to do and knowing how to respond in a high pressure situation are 2 completely different things. Knowing that, everybody knows that if someone is walking and they collapse and hit their head on the concrete, that you need to probably give CPR. But if someone's sitting in a chair, on a couch, and they look like they've fallen asleep, will young people or even people our age know to act before it's too late? We have Sharon on the call as well, another mom who's joined us, and she's going to share about her baby, Erin. Trying to get her in. Don't know what happened. Okay, while I'm trying to get her in, let's look at a comment real quick. Okay, I see someone saying, I believe they're responding to you, Teresa, that you did not fail your child. You did what all parents are told to do. The doctors missed it. I'm so sorry. Oh, I think that might have been to you, Jennifer, because you were talking about the doctors missing it. Yeah, thank you for that, Andrea.
Thank you. Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that doctors are missing it. Go ahead, Jennifer.
No, I was just going to say, you were talking about the CPR, about kids not knowing CPR. And the other thing is the AEDs. Kids need to know that there's been studies done that kids as little as 4th graders can do them. They're so easy. And so a lot of schools may have AEDs or sports programs, but the kids don't know that they can actually use those AEDs to help somebody as well, right? So that's another thing that we try to get out there, that they are very easy to use, and you can't hurt somebody with an AED. So open
that door and take out that AED, and don't worry that it can be used by trained professionals only. Open that door, grab that AED, use it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, I want to address this comment from Roxanne. She says that we called, first of all, she said, thanks for having this discussion. We called 911 and said we thought our daughter was having a seizure, and they told us not to touch her. It was cardiac. It happened in our home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've heard that story a lot
of times. Sometimes it appears to be a seizure, and it's actually agonal breathing that's taking place. They are not receiving oxygen, and so their body is looking as if it's having a seizure. Also, unexplained seizures is on a list of symptoms, warning signs that, some people might say that their kid is having unexplained seizures and they think that they have a seizure disorder, but it actually might be related to their heart and could result in cardiac arrest. So that's something else that people need to look at. If your child is having seizures, make sure that you're having the heart checked, not just assuming that it's epilepsy. If your child is fainting, like Jennifer said, her son fainted, make sure that a full heart workup is done, not just the EKG and echocardiogram, because another video on my YouTube page, Lakeisha shared her story, and her son Vari had fainted. and they only did an EKG and did not do the echocardiogram. So it's important. We're like with COVID is educating us, and we know what to ask for. We know we need to be tested if we're having certain symptoms. So you need to know what language to use. If you just go to the doctor and leave it in their hands, they may just say it's dehydration. They may not do any heart workup at all. But if you know that these certain things can be linked to a heart condition, I want you to ask for a full heart workup, EKG, and echocardiogram. Okay, I have another person who shared their story, and they are also on the YouTube page. So make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube page. But she said that she had taken her daughter to the doctor, and her daughter was not an athlete. Her daughter had been having heart palpitations, so like racing heart, and dizziness when she stood up quickly. And the doctors never did an EKG on her. They just said that she was underweight and maybe having anemia. So make sure that you guys are asking for these tests, because each of us, if we would have had to pay thousands of dollars for these tests, we would have paid it if it would have resulted in us being able to keep our child here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We have a young man in our.
A child's blood pressure should never be higher than 120/80, especially when they're very physically fit. Know your child's blood pressure. It's so important.
Yeah.
Question if it's higher, and don't let them tell you it's from pain. It's from pain of an injury. Don't let them tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. We did our first heart screening in October, and we had 15 kids that had considered high blood pressure out of like over 200 kids that we screened, because we do their blood pressure, and 15 of them, which I was so surprised that we had that many that had high blood pressure and they didn't even know it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Idris says, it seems there needs to be a reapproach to how these sports physicals are being conducted. Absolutely, because they need to include heart screenings.
Right.
The stethoscope cannot detect the problems that lead to sudden cardiac arrest. So listening to something using ancient technology, something that's like centuries old, you know? Yeah. So we're still doing that. Why don't you guys use that? Go use a rotary phone, you know? Get rid of your cell phone. Use old technology. Put the sticks together and create a fire to cook your dinner. We're using old technology to protect our kids. A stethoscope, really? Yep. And the knowledge out there is mind-boggling. Like even when I told my son's doctor after everything happened, and she said, "Well, did he grab his chest?" This is before we had the results from the autopsy. She said, "Did he grab his chest?" I said, "No." And she said, "Well, it's not going to be his heart then, because he would have grabbed his chest." That's a symptom of a heart attack. It does not mean that cannot be sudden cardiac arrest. And once I started researching it myself, I found that was so untrue, that a lot of times they do not grab their chest because they do not feel it. It happens so instantly. Go ahead.
No, I was to say, yeah, that's right. That's what the sudden part of sudden cardiac arrest. It's sudden, right? And a heart attack is different than cardiac arrest. I didn't know that until this happened either. I didn't know there was a difference.
Roxanne is saying we should have cardiac screenings by 6th and 7th grade. Yes, that is the recommendation, that by 6th and 7th grade. But this is the key, that it needs to be repeated every 2 years. That they get it every 2 years. And if somebody has a condition, they need to have it repeated more often, probably annually.
Yeah.
If that's something that's been found. Because I talked to an athlete the other day, and she was saying that she had a heart murmur. And, she hadn't had a heart screening since 2016 or 17. And I'm like, okay, we need to get you a repeat screening, because a lot can change in that time frame. I was looking, and it says up to the age of 25, they need to continue those repeat screenings, because the heart is a muscle. When it grows, it changes over time. So just like they're changing physically on the outside, the heart, what you do not see with the naked eye, and you cannot see with a stethoscope, you cannot see the changes that it's undergoing unless you do the EKG, which measures the electrical activity, or the echocardiogram, which gives a full picture of it. Okay, Sharon is joining us. Okay, go ahead, Teresa.
No, let's have Sharon join us.
Okay, we're going to have Sharon join us. I'm trying to get you in the picture, Sharon, and you're not showing up. I see you down here, but the screen is black. Are you connected? Can you hear us? Sharon? Okay, we'll try again. I can see her, and I keep adding her in. Okay, okay, there she goes. I think she might be, Sharon, you might be driving you might want to pull over for just a minute, because it looks like maybe you're going in and out of bad areas.
Yeah, I don't have a good signal.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Aaron while we have you.
Oh my gosh. Let me pull over real quick
Okay.
because I'm still working. I haven't dropped it.
Okay. Okay, I have a question that I'm going to answer while you pull over. So Roxanne is saying her daughter felt nauseous, and I heard that again. Zaina, who shared her story also on the YouTube channel, shared that her son had a tummy ache right before his sudden cardiac arrest, and that was the only symptom. And that's not even on the list of symptoms, but now there's 2 people that I've talked to personally that said that a tummy ache was the symptom. Stephanie is saying Alec felt lightheaded on the onset, but not prior to. Stephanie just shared her story with me yesterday. That will be up on the page in a couple of days. Probably by Wednesday, we will have Stephanie's story on Alec. And he felt lightheaded, but just like 60 seconds prior to his sudden cardiac arrest. It was not like a big warning where you get time to prepare on how you're going to respond. And then Roxanne is asking, has anyone had genetic testing after their child passed? We did.
Yeah,
We're
I have.
getting it done.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Our process, but we ourselves have not had our genetics tested. We're waiting for the return of Zach's before we have anything done with ours.
Yeah, we had ours done for Kyle and nothing came back on his. So we've tested myself and my daughter and nothing has come back yet either. So, but we've been told to keep testing like every couple of years because they keep identifying new genetic markers. So they'll keep rerunning it and hopefully we'll get an answer of what caused it. Because as of right now, we don't even know what caused Kyle's cardiac arrest.
Right. That's the other thing. I remember at the Parent Heart Watch, that's another website that you guys should take a look at, Parent Heart Watch. If anybody watching this has questions about sudden cardiac arrest, Parent Heart Watch is the national organization that the 3 of us are members of. And they provide information. They were a wealth of information for me leading up. But at the convention in January, Dr. Who shared that a third of the kids who die from sudden cardiac arrest, they never really get a full answer on why exactly it happened. So there's still a lot to be learned about this.
Yeah.
He also shared that a large percentage of the kids who have sudden cardiac arrest are not even athletes, or it's not during athletic activity. 2/3 of the sudden cardiac arrests have nothing to do with athletics. That's why we are thinking that it's so rare, but 7,000 kids a year are passing away from sudden cardiac arrest and we're not hearing about it. So it's our job. We're making sure that you hear about it from us. So right. Sharon is here and her son was 15 years old. Aaron was a star basketball player. I've seen, the videos that he shared on him. Tell us a little bit about that and when it happened.
Okay. Aaron has been gone for 3 years and 5 months. 4 months. Wow. So he passed in January of 2017. He went to basketball practice. Like he got up, it was a normal day. Actually, it wasn't really typical of Aaron to get up and be so ready to go. Like normally we have to drag him out of the bed for practice. This day he got up, he was ready to go. Who's going to drop me off? And my husband said, well, I'll take you because I had somewhere else to be. And so went to practice, said everything was fine. He came home and must have come home shortly after. Thank God. I'm grateful that God gave me a chance to come home and at least kiss him and touch him while he was still, here with us. But he looked fine. He just looked like he was tired, which was understandable. He had just left basketball practice. And I asked him how was practice. Practice was fine. Told him I loved him, kissed him, played in his hair, and said, clean your room up. He was like, okay, mommy, I have to take a shower first. So I was like, okay. It must have been about an hour and a half later, my son, because Aaron was the youngest of 4 boys. So boy number 3 came into my room and he was screaming like, mommy, Aaron's not responsive. I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I just took off. He was in the bathroom. He never made it to the shower. He had taken off his shorts and his underpants, but didn't get his chance to take his shirt off. So when my son found him on his knees and he was slumped over, so we don't know if he was using the bathroom and we really don't know what happened. I tried performing CPR, and when the paramedics came, they worked on him for what seemed like forever, but it was probably only a matter of minutes before they rushed him, off to the hospital, and we were there for probably about 2 hours maybe before they pronounced him dead. But I believe he was gone well before that happened. Perfectly healthy kid. Like, physically, you look at him, I called him an Adonis. He was a beautiful child. He was 15, but he was 6'4". He was about 190 something pounds, just super athletic kid, and no warning signs, no nothing. Aaron was the type of child, honestly, if his toenails were growing too long and they were scratching against his sneaker, he was coming to tell me, "Mommy, my toenails are too long, cut my toenails." So I know if there was something that didn't feel right, he would have told me. There was nothing. Just like you all are saying, there was no warning. It was exactly what it was, sudden.
Wow.
And yeah.
And he was like a varsity, like he was a superstar athlete. I saw like your videos. What state are you in, Sharon?
We're in North Carolina, in Charlotte.
North Carolina. Okay, and what high school did Aaron go to?
He went to Olympic High School. He played varsity freshman year and sophomore, and he started both years. Like, he was a super athletic kid. They called him a freak of nature. He played football too, but basketball he decided to focus on because he said football was getting way too physical. Like, the older the kids get, the harder they were hitting. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna stick to basketball." And it's nothing. So and that's what I was saying. Like, he literally would leave the football field or leave a basketball game and go straight to the football field. At times he was playing both sports back to back, and nothing. Fine. One day he was.
And again, not at practice, at home.
He was home. He was home already. I wish that he was at practice, because at least someone would have been with him when it happened, and it could have, because I guess it's like milliseconds that you have to try to revive them. And we don't know how long he was in the bathroom. I know one of his friends had texted him, asked if he wanted to go to the movies, and he didn't respond. And that was at 3:20. And the last time he sent the text out was 3:05. And so he didn't respond to that one at 3:20. And then we found him about 3:45. So if he was in that bathroom, let's just say 25 minutes by himself. Yeah. There was no chance.
Wow. And what you said, that hit me so deep in my core, because I remember wishing and praying, like, why couldn't it have happened at practice? Why couldn't it have happened at practice? And
but you know what? That may not have that. About a year later, I don't even know if it was a year. I'm going to say it was a year because I don't know exactly the time frame. The basketball team that because he played traveling basketball, AAU. So the team that he would have played on the following, school year or summer, one of the kids collapsed at a tournament and died in front of all of those people. Same thing, Sutton Carter. But he had been having issues, from what I understand. He had been complaining of, pain to his parents, and I'm not sure if they had taken him to have him, looked at. But if my child had said one thing, my chest, "Mommy, I'm tired. When I run, this hurts." Okay, basketball's done. Like, I would not have continued to allow him to play without making sure that he was okay. But there was nothing. We never got a warning. He didn't. He wasn't sick. He wasn't. He wasn't lethargic, or it was nothing. Just one day.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And I think that's like true to all of us, if we had known what signs to look for, because I don't know, I'm lost for words. I don't understand why EKGs and echocardiograms are not included. I get what you say about the CPR, because case to case it's so different. But we got to do something, to try our hardest, because you get stories like Lexi Sema and Brennan Connell, which are survivors, and
Kayla.
Dana's son, Jerron. Holden Strong. They all survived. So we don't know what happens from case to case. Some of them I know have the sudden cardiac arrest and are gone instantly. Like Alec, Stephanie's son, he got CPR right away. He got the AED very quickly, and he did not survive. But I know that they say if CPR is initiated immediately, it doubles or triples your chance of survival. Right now, 90% of kids who have sudden cardiac arrest outside of the hospital will not survive. 90%. But if we get CPR, that's because we're not responding quick enough. That's because people do not notice that it's a sudden cardiac arrest and don't jump into action. If we can change it and people jump into action immediately, then we can double or triple their chances of survival. And we can take a 10% survival rate to 30% survival rate. And that's just with CPR alone. Now, if we do the heart screenings, they say that heart screenings can identify 90% of the conditions that could lead to sudden cardiac arrest. So we're not just worrying about the response with an AED, but now we are preventing it from actually happening because they can go through corrective procedures to make sure that it does not result in a sudden cardiac arrest. And I've talked to a lot of families who have had those corrective procedures. I know Who We Play For has done, I can't remember, but it's on my YouTube page as well, how many families that they've done over the years and how many lives they've saved, how many people have had to actually go through corrective procedures from sudden cardiac arrest because they've been around for a lot longer than us. And that is our goal as well, to make sure that we can save a lot of lives. And maybe in 5 years, we'll have this long list of kids who we saved because we stayed steadfast in this mission of bringing awareness to this and fighting to save our kids. And I say our kids because your kids are our kids now. That's our mission. We're taking them on as people that we have to do something to help. I see another mom from our group, Sarah, who her son's so lovely, Jacob. Jacob had severe asthma as a kid, so chest pain was not uncommon and not in any way anything we would be worried about. It was the norm for him. Yeah. I was looking at that with the warning signs and risk factors, how it says that unusual shortness of breath during physical activity. And I'm a coach, and I know shortness of breath is part of what we're doing. We're running you, and you're doing repeat with 200s with 60, 90 seconds rest in between sometimes. Shortness of breath is a part of the adaptation. So it's hard to differentiate what is unusual shortness of breath. That keyword, unusual shortness of breath. And when I talked to Martha with Parent Heart Watch, it's kind of like if, that one kid that's taking longer than other kids to recover or to handle that workload, then those are the ones that, you might need to look at a little bit further and recommend testing for. But I would say every kid in an athletic program should be tested. We look at Italy and Japan, how they have that mandatory testing for kids that are participating in sports in their countries. So these other countries, we always say America, we're supposed to be, ahead of everything. Why are we not doing that?
We're doing that.
We're not, yeah. Yeah, the other one too that blows my mind that a lot of people say is the fatigue, right? That's a symptom. Well, most teenagers are tired because they got school, they got all their extra activities, Teresa was saying about Zach. Kyle liked to nap too. He was always in his room laying down and, saying he was tired, but he was always on the go. So I never thought, well, gosh, there must be something medically wrong.
Right.
And there was a point in time where Zach was at school at 6 a.m. because they had what they called 0 hour.
Right.
And,
Kyle had that too. Yeah.
So, at school at 6 a.m. and then he'd be, then he would be at school all day, go to practice. Then he'd have, homework. So sometimes, he'd take a quick nap before he did his homework, but he was in the advanced placement AP classes. So he had a lot of homework and he was a good student. So, that was important that he, do his homework. So taking the naps did not seem out of norm.
Right. Yeah.
And you'd watch him on the court and he'd play the entire game. And I mean, there was just still.
Right.
And then, and so with our first heart screening at our first school, a child was identified with WPW and had corrective surgery. So at our very first screening, we had a child with WPW, and he had surgery in So the first screening was May 1st of 2019, and he had his surgery, I want to say on August 5th, but it was in August of 2019. So
Yeah.
Roxanne is saying, my daughter said she had panic attacks. She didn't know how to describe a heart palpitation. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a young man in our community that played sports his entire life and was super active, played baseball and I think played some basketball, and went to the doctors for something else and just happened to tell the doctor, hey, I have this feeling in my chest, tightness, and like it feels like it's tight from the inside. And the doctor said, well, let's just go get you checked out. You're probably fine. And they did the testing and found out that he had a hole that probably was born with, that he'd been going through, high school, middle school, sports, little league, all that stuff. And he lived his entire life with this and nothing was ever found. So luckily he spoke up and it was identified and it was fixed. And so he's okay now. But had he not mentioned that, he could have easily just, collapsed as well. But it's just crazy to me that something like that, like he literally had a hole that they never identified.
Yeah. And Stephanie says that's the mind-boggling part. It's preventable. Screen kids. Screen them all. Screen all the kids.
Screen all
the
kids. We screen all of them. It doesn't matter if they're not in athletics. Every kid needs screened.
Right. And they
athletes. That's the key. I want every listening. Every kid, because like I said, several kids in our group, I would say at least 50% of the kids in our group are not athletes.
Well, right. And if you think about it, because that one statistic it's the number one killer of student athletes. And I remember being at a Parent Heart Watch event, and they said they really classify student athletes by any child that has at least 4 to 8 hours of physical activity. That's most kids. That's PE. That's running on the playground at recess. That's dance. That's gymnastics. That's cheerleading. So just because they're not in a basketball or football or baseball or organized sport, they're active. They're active kids. There's probably only a small percentage of kids that aren't active at all. Most kids have some kind of activity that they're doing. And so that's what we say. We screen all of them. We're going to screen everybody. We're not just screening kids that are part of the sports programs.
And you bring up a good point, because the additional statistic is that it's the number one killer on school campuses, but school campuses are not doing drills on how to respond to sudden cardiac arrest, but we're doing fire drills. We're doing active shooter in the building drills. And those things do not impact and affect kids quite as often. It's not taking as many lives as sudden cardiac arrest.
Right. But we do fire drills every year. When's the last time a child died in a school fire?
Every month. I was a teacher. We do fire drills every month, and it's mandated that we do fire drills every month. But we don't do one sudden cardiac arrest drill throughout the whole year. Now imagine this, if we did the drill, like kids know, they see something on social media that it might be a shooter at their school, they know to take it seriously because they've done the drills. If we do sudden cardiac arrest drills, perhaps people will know to look for these certain signs and how to respond more seriously if someone is unresponsive. Right. So we're not just teaching them what to do, we're teaching them how to take it seriously and how to respond. Yeah.
Well, I know for like our state, some states do require that they take like CPR as part of graduation. Ours doesn't. Luckily, our high school now has put that as part of like their PE curriculum, that they actually have to learn CPR. So even just getting that as part of the curriculum. And I think our middle school they're teaching it to them as well, but it's not a standard. There's no standard teaching it, right? So yeah, it's very frustrating.
Right, and that's the key, the standard of teaching it. But also as a school teacher, I'll say this, kids take things like, I feel an outside entity, like one of our organizations should come in and do the CPR, at least one portion of the CPR training, because kids in school, they start to take things as a routine, and having their teacher that they're with every single day teaching them about CPR is going to have one level of seriousness. Having someone from like the Community Emergency Response Team, or from the American Red Cross, or from Zach Mago Foundation, or Kyle J. Taylor Foundation, or Damani Gibson Foundation come in and teach CPR and say, hey, I actually lost a kid to this. Do you think those kids are not going to take it seriously?
Right. Yeah.
So let's just, I know we were talking about doing CPR, like a little demo today. let's go ahead and just run through a quick demo because it's already 44 minutes. We were planning to do 40 minutes. So real quick demo, just so that everybody can know we can do a fuller demo another time, but just so you know how simple it is to do CPR. Watching studies, this is an AED. Sometimes you'll see signs that say do not touch it, only use let a person certified touch it, but anybody can operate an AED. When you open it, it tells you what to do.
Yep.
Take home. Follow these instructions. Make sure 911 is called now. Begin by exposing patient's bare chest. Remove or cut clothing if needed.
It tells you all the steps. And then there's also pictures on the pads that tell you exactly where to put the pad. I just wanted to show you guys that this is a cardiac science AED. There are plenty of different models. This is just one model. Jennifer, you ready? You set up for the?
Yeah, I don't think you guys can see the dummy that I have here, but I have a mannequin here. So,
real quick, I want to share one statistic with everybody. So CPR is something that can save lives, but it's statistically proven that Blacks and Hispanics in poorer neighborhoods are 40% less likely to receive CPR. So in those inner cities, we need to make sure that we are emphasizing this response. Also, another statistic is that Blacks and Hispanics are dying at disproportionate rates from sudden cardiac arrest. So we want to make sure that those lower income communities are also receiving this information. So please share this information, share the video. If you're watching it, share it. Visit our YouTube page, subscribe. There's plenty of information on this. If you know a parent who has lost a child suddenly and did not receive a response, sometimes those cases can be sudden cardiac arrest and they just have not been connected with people that can help them understand what really happened. So just like share the information, because there's even times that someone might have an unexplained single car accident. Those people need to look into the case a little bit deeper. Unexplained drownings, all of those are also linked to potential sudden cardiac arrest. So if you have somebody in your family who had an unexplained single car accident or unexplained drowning, you might want to go and get tested even if there's no symptoms. Jennifer?
Yeah, we actually have that. My grandfather passed away in a single car accident, but we were always just told that he had a seizure. I mean, this is in 1972. So, it was a long time ago. But when I heard that statistic, I was like, wait a minute, my grandfather died in a single car crash on a 2-lane road in 1972. So, but then when I looked into it, it was like, I think they put a shock or something as his cause of death. So it was never looked into. So I do think that there was something there even with that back then.
Right. My dad had a stroke when he was 51, and that's never been like something that draws a red flag. I've told my pediatrician about that, and that was never anything. So now looking back, I'm like, they said it was a stroke, but what if it was something that started in his heart first? Right. What if it was related? We'll never really know.
Yeah.
Know your family history. That's another important one. Know your family history. And most people don't know their family history.
Yeah. But what I'm saying too, Teresa, is it's not just knowing your family history, because I discussed that family history with my pediatrician, but it's knowing to just ask for the test. Don't wait for a symptom. Don't wait for know your family history, but also even if your family history leans to the fact that it's not connected, still ask for the test, still dig further, because like on a physical form, it says anybody dying under the age of 50 from a heart condition. Well, my dad died at 51 and it wasn't necessarily from a heart condition, but I should have just dug deeper. I talked to the doctor about it, but
right. Yeah.
Okay.
So you want me to do the demo here? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm trying to do this at my kitchen table here, so I apologize. So CPR should be started as soon as possible, as we've been talking about for this last 45 minutes. I'm just going to show you really quickly how to do it. I've learned it. I'm a certified instructor through American Red Cross. You can learn it through American Heart Association, but it's pretty much the same thing. I'm just going to teach you hands-only CPR. So what you're going to do is first you're going to check to make sure the person is not breathing. And we've talked about breathing is normal breathing, not trying to gasp for air or having like a seizure, like that they're actually normally breathing. If they're not, then what you're going to do is you are going to put your two hands like this together, okay? And you're going to take the palm of your hand and you're going to put it in the middle part of their chest, right here in the center part of their chest, okay? And you're going to put it down and you're going to lock your elbows, okay? And you're going to just go about 2 inches.
Tilt your screen a little bit more so they can see the dummy.
Okay, hold on.
There you go.
Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to put your the palm of your hand in the middle of their chest. You're going to lock your fingers, and you can do it either way. If you're left-handed or right-handed, whatever's easiest for you. You're going to lock your elbows, and you're going to go about 2 inches, and you're going to do about 100 to 120 beats per minute. So the way that you can do that is just count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. Okay, and so you're just going to do that 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. So if you're going to do hands only, you're just going to keep doing that until either somebody calls 911 and an EMT gets there, or an AED comes, and then you're going to do kind of what Rakaya showed you on attaching the AED, and you go through the whole process of what it tells you to do. It's voice activated. It's going to tell you exactly what to do, and you're going to attach it, and it'll tell them if they need to be shocked or not shocked. It won't shock somebody if they aren't supposed to be shocked, and then you can keep doing CPR until the EMT shows up or until the person starts breathing again. But again, it's just the palm of your hand. You're going to lock your elbows, and you're going to go 2 inches deep. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And you can practice it at home on a pillow. You can take like a basketball and kind of practice that. You can take a towel with some toilet paper and stick it on the towel and kind of use the toilet paper as the chest to practice. There's so many different ways that you can practice. But I would just say, even if you aren't certified, go to a demonstration, learn it, but do something. Doing something, some kind of CPR on somebody is better than doing nothing, right?
Right.
So you're giving them a better chance.
Thank you, Jennifer. And I just want to emphasize that the first step is, like, after checking for responsiveness, make sure you call 911 or have someone call 911 right away. Don't wait until you're, already halfway through the CPR. Right. Make sure that you call 911, and then you keep going until the ambulance arrives and they take over.
Thanks for putting that out there. Yeah, I forgot to mention that when I was talking about the breathing, so thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, you're obviously going to have somebody call 911 at the very beginning of this whole thing. So right. Yeah. Keep pushing. Candy Clutch, thank you so much. Yes, we will keep fighting. We will keep pushing. Someone says, I'm sorry, ladies. Keep pushing and getting awareness out there. Thank you, Erica. We really appreciate that. And then someone is asking about screening siblings.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Both of Zach's siblings, Matthew and Jillian, have been screened, and Matthew will be screened again because his blood pressure is higher than we want it to be.
Yeah. My daughter Allison has been screened. She was screened within a couple months after Kyle passed, and especially because we don't know what caused his cardiac arrest and we've not identified it genetically, she will be screened yearly. And she just had her screening when she came home from college in March. So we'll do it annually until we figure out what caused Kyle's.
Right. It's definitely recommended to get anybody screened who has a family member who has passed away from what could have been a sudden cardiac arrest. I have a friend, and we have a friend in the group who lost her two of her children, but she only found out that they had it because she requested genetic testing because her aunt had the condition. So pushed for the testing, and I think she said they even didn't want to do the testing because it was an aunt and not her mother, But through that testing, she found out that she had it. She found out that her mom had it, her brother had it. A whole family of people have been living with it into adulthood, and they never would have found out without pushing for the genetic testing. Yeah. Also, I want to share a story because some people ask, like, how young to get the testing done. And There's a woman in our group who had a beautiful son, Logan, and I told her I'd share his story today. Logan was 7 years old when he passed away, and it was 1 month before his 8th birthday, and he passed away taking a bath. No signs, no symptoms, but they found out that he had long QT, and had he had an EKG, they would have caught it, and he could possibly still be here. So I can't really tell you how young. I'd say this, that knowing what I know now, I would try to get it done at a young age for my child. I would say get a baseline, especially because my child played Little League sports. I would say get it done before that. And then again at that 7th grade interval. But I would want to, because if it's something like long QT, that's something that they have their whole life, and that it could probably be detected early on in their lives. But I know some people with long QT, it may not be detected on the EKG, because remember that's at 10%, but most long QT is detected on the EKG. There are just a few things that are not detected on the EKG. That's why it's good to get the echocardiogram too, the full heart workup.
Yeah. And I would say not even just the siblings, I would say any blood relatives. Like we did our first screening, we had quite a bit, probably like 10 family members that were related to Kyle come and get screened, because we don't know if it's genetic or not, and we don't know what side of the family it's come from if it is genetic. So we screened a lot of them, and we screened one of Kyle's cousins who was 8 years old. They were all fine, but I would say definitely get siblings checked, but also blood relatives.
Right. That's what I was saying about like Kiona, because she found out from her aunt.
Yeah.
And even though the doctors tried to tell her it was not necessary, but she pushed for it. So this is awareness is key. Like the doctors are going to tell you one thing, and we're not trying to come down on them, because they only know what they know and what they've been taught in school. Yeah. But we're just telling you that some of the, when the lessons are outdated, it's time to revamp the curriculum. It's time to revamp the curriculum. And some of the things that the doctors are telling us about our kids not needing to be tested, some of that is driven by money. Why is it that I can go and get a mammogram every year, but I can't go and get my child's heart screen and have that covered? Like, really, this should be a part of the well child exam. That's just my belief. If we can pay for these other things, then this is killing more people than cancer. It's killing more people than, school shootings, than all of the things that are on our radar. It's time for us to get this on the radar. We have to stop. We have to do better by kids. Like kids, 7,000 youth a year. That's all. When I found that out, I was blown away. I never, ever would have expected the statistic to be that high. I felt so alone. I felt like this was just me and the group that we have. If you know anybody, it's a group on Facebook, Healing Hearts, which is the same name of the series on my YouTube channel, Healing Hearts. But it started out with like 5 people, and now there's 100 people in the group. And this is just through word of mouth, finding each other. And Parent Heart Watch, I know they have hundreds of members, in theirs. That's survivors and people who passed away from it. But it's not rare, guys. It's not rare. It's happening way too often. And if you think back, you might realize that somebody who passed away unexplained, and you never really found out. Like I was in high school, and there was a kid at my high school that passed away playing not organized basketball, just on, playing in the neighborhood on the basketball court, and he passed away. But nobody ever came out and told us what it was from. Right. Now, everything that I'm learning, but we got to stop being silent when it can save somebody else's life. I can't sit here and be silent and know that my silence, even though I'm being private with what's happening, and I'm not blaming anybody that chooses silence, but more of us have to speak up. It's painful. Some people do not have the ability to speak up about this, and I understand that, but more of us have to speak up and share the stories so that we can stop acting like it's rare. It's not rare. We can save lives, and if we can save one life, like if it was my son's life, I would think that's worth the whole world.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
absolutely.
And that was my thing. I couldn't know this information because I didn't know it beforehand, and I was one of those parents that was very involved with my kids. If I didn't know, so many other people didn't know, and I couldn't know this information and not share it. And that's what drives me every day, because I don't want somebody else to lose, their Damani or Kyle or Zach or all the other kids that we know through this.
Right.
If it just saves one.
Yep. I'm reading a comment from Erica. She said, yes, because of your awareness of SCA, we had both our boys tested at 6 and 8 at your event last year. We want to get genetic testing next because we don't have any health history on our boys since they're adopted. That's another good point. Thank you for bringing that up, Erica. Like if you don't have the family history because of adoption or people whose parents died very young, you know, you definitely want to get some testing done because you don't know the family history.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I would say too, we're talking about the family history. It's like the form that you have to fill out, the check the boxes, you know, kind of thing. And I always used to just fill those out. I never asked my kids if they had any of those symptoms because I thought, well, they would just tell me or whatever. But I would suggest to people when you're filling those forms out, sit with your child and ask those questions and don't just assume that, like, I always thought, oh, have you lost anybody in your family from heart disease? No, I didn't have anybody that had heart disease, you know, but I mean, I had family members that had heart problems, but it wasn't called heart disease. And so I thought, I would mark no. So, you know, and knowing your family history, and I do have, you know, an aunt who had some heart things as a young age, but it never was looked at or anything like that. But yeah, I would say look at those forms with your kids, fill those forms out, take the time instead of just hurrying through them to fill them out. Ask those questions.
Zach filled out his own form and I signed it. So
yeah.
I mean, he had no idea. His first symptom was his last symptom, and he had no idea, and he was not afraid to tell me when he needed to go to the doctor. And you know, I mean, he'd been under a doctor's care because of having ankle surgery. So, you know, in March, and God moved him in July. So you know, we hadn't been stricter to the doctor's office at all.
Yeah. And I would say too, if you push your doctor, you want your child to be tested and the doctor doesn't want to do it, find another doctor that will. Just keep pushing, tell our stories, tell other stories, and push until you get a doctor who will do it. Because I've had people contact me and say, my doctor won't do it. And I say, well, then share Kyle's story or find another doctor.
Yep.
Because they are out there. They will help you.
Sarah's asking, EKG echo, what else should we push for in the case the doctor feels it's unnecessary? I'll tell you what they did on my son. They did the EKG, the echo, and then additionally did a stress test. I think a stress test is really, really important, especially people that are active, because your heart is doing different things under activity than it is, at rest. So I would definitely say a stress test, and then also a heart MRI. He received that as well. So, and this is the follow-up for a sibling who lost a sibling to sudden cardiac arrest. Okay. Wow. Let me see. We got a couple more comments coming. Oh, she said yes, the stress test. Right. Thank you, Steph. Okay. So again, make sure you go to the YouTube channel. There's a lot of information. There are a few awareness videos. I will share a couple of them today as well, with families like us sharing their stories, like just blown away. Most of them did not feel a symptom or know of anything. When you say, Teresa, that your son would have shared with you if he was feeling something, Sharon said that her son would have said something. And I feel like Damani would have said something, but it was a comment earlier I was trying to find that I saw earlier. Someone said that their child, I think it was Roxanne, she thinks that the children just don't know how to explain what they're feeling. And I talked to someone at the Parent Heart Watch who was a survivor. He had WPW and he had it corrected. And he said it wasn't until after he had heart surgery that he recognized that he had been feeling something before, because that was his normal. He never knew that what he had been feeling was normal. And I heard people say, like, after the heart surgery, they're like, wait a minute, something's wrong. And they're like, no, that's how it's supposed to feel.
Right.
But they never felt that their whole life.
I believe what Mason said, because he felt better after his surgery. And you don't know. I mean, kids just think that's their normal. They don't know any different.
Yeah.
Right. Right. My son is a drummer and his sister died of SCA. Okay. I should get him tested. Oh, yes. Has he not been tested, Roxana? Has he not? your son that's a drummer? Because marching band, that's very strenuous as well. I definitely think that you should have him tested.
Absolutely.
Please.
Any
Michelle
patient
is saying Nick complained, but they didn't know the symptoms. Yes, Michelle, I tried to call you. I wanted you on this call because of your story. Nick, I think that he had like a cough and they gave him cough syrup, but I'll let her share her story one day soon. He was at college and a law has been passed in Georgia named after Nick and another young man. But it's been very, very nice. We will continue these conversations. We will have these more regularly. So send us questions. If you continue to have questions, you can put them in the comments and we will all answer them. We will all see them. If you're watching on Facebook, or I'll upload this to YouTube as well. Make sure that you follow our channel on YouTube. It's just look for my name, Rakaya Gibson. I have a couple of different series, so you want to look for the ones that are called Healing Hearts. Any video that's called Healing Hearts is going to either deal with our loss journey or deal with sudden cardiac arrest awareness. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your stories. Teresa's going to share her story, her extended story this week, and it'll be up on the YouTube page next week. So continue to watch. We will share a story every week for as long as people are willing to share their stories and raise awareness. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you watching. Share this because it might not be for you, but you could save someone's life if we share this information. That's the power of social media. COVID is making us, look at how we can be more proactive in our response to things. So make sure that we're proactive about sudden cardiac arrest. You see that COVID is it's killed about 120,000 people so far, and we have shut the country down. Not only do 7,000 youth die each year from sudden cardiac arrest, but 350,000 people die every single year from sudden cardiac arrest. Not once where we're managing a virus that will eventually get to contain. Every single year, 350,000 people, nearly 1,000 people every single day. Don't let it be someone in your family. Share the video, share the knowledge, ask for the tests, protect whoever you love with every fiber of your being, because you do not, I promise you, you do not want to be on this side of the situation. You do not want to be in these shoes. You can go and watch the grief videos as well on the page, because this journey is nothing that I ever would have expected. It is very difficult, but we found purpose and we will continue to live out our purpose so that our children's memories will never, ever be forgotten. Their life will never be in vain and their death will never be in vain. Our purpose is to bring life to our children through touching lives, continuing to touch lives, because a person is only dead when they're forgotten, and our children will not be forgotten if we have anything to do about it. So go and do me a favor. If you're on Facebook, follow the Kyle J. Taylor Foundation, follow the Zach Mago Foundation, follow the Damani Gibson Foundation. We are in this together. I call these ladies my sisters. Yes. We are fighting together, and we are heart warriors together. So, we will continue to do our part. You do your part. Share the video, share the knowledge, refer people to us. We will answer their questions. We will find an organization close to them. Whatever we can do to help, we will do it. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank
Love
you. Love you guys.
Love you. Bye-bye.